আজকে আমাদের লেকচারের বিষয় হচ্ছে যে টপিক্সটা আমরা আলাপ করব সেটা হচ্ছে ইরিটেবল বাওয়েল সিনড্রোম। তো আর আমি ডাক্তার তারেক মাহমুদ, সহযোগী অধ্যাপক, মেডিসিন, বসুন্ধরা আদ্দিন মেডিকেল কলেজ। ইরিটেবল বাওয়েল সিনড্রোম যখন আমরা আলাপ করব, প্রথমেই একটা ওভারভিউ প্রয়োজন। ওভারভিউটা কি, যে মানে এটার মোস্ট কমন সিমটমসটা কি? মোস্ট কমন সিমটমসটা হচ্ছে অ্যাবডোমিনাল পেইন অথবা একটা ডিসকমফোর্ট হয়, এবং এটা বেশ দীর্ঘদিন ধরে হতে থাকে। সাধারণত কোনো স্ট্রাকচারাল অ্যাবনর্মালিটি থাকে না, গার্ড বা গার্ড রিলেটেড কোনো স্ট্রাকচারাল অ্যাবনর্মালিটি থাকে না, এবং বেশ কমন। আসলে এই অসুখটা বেশ কমন, প্রিভিলেন্স হচ্ছে 10 to 15% পপুলেশন এটা হয়। আর এটার জন্য আসলে ফিজিশিয়ানস কনসালটেশনটা খুব কম, যেমন মানে অ্যারাউন্ড 10% পেশেন্ট আসলে কনসাল্ট করে। অন দ্য আদার হ্যান্ড পেশেন্টের দেখা যায় যে ইটা অনেক বেশি থাকে, মানে জেনারেল পপুলেশনে যদি পপুলেশন সার্ভে করা যায়, অ্যাবডোমিনাল ডিসকমফোর্ট, ব্লটিং, অল্টার্ড বাওয়েল হ্যাবিট, এরকম এই সিমটমসগুলি দেখা যায় পপুলেশনের মধ্যে প্রায় 10 to 15% পপুলেশনের মধ্যে এটা থাকতে পারে অ্যাট এ গিভেন টাইম। কিন্তু এটার জন্য ফিজিশিয়ান কনসালটেশন দেখা যায় যে আসলে যতজনের এই সমস্যাটা আছে তার দেখা যায় 10%-এর মতো ফিজিশিয়ানস কনসালটেশন করে। অন দ্য আদার হ্যান্ড, যেহেতু এটার প্রিভিলেন্স বেশি, দেখা যায় যে গ্যাস্ট্রোইন্টেস্টাইনাল যে রেফারেল থাকে, মানে জেনারেল প্র্যাকটিস থেকে যেই পেশেন্ট গ্যাস্ট্রোইন্টেস্টাইনাল রেফারেল হয়, তার প্রায় মোস্ট কমন কজ অফ গ্যাস্ট্রোইন্টেস্টাইনাল রেফারেল হচ্ছে আইবিএস। সো আমরা যদি এই ব্যাপারটা একটু চিন্তা করে দেখি, যে আমাদের প্রচুর আইবিএসও একটা কঠিন অসুখ বা জটিল অসুখ আমরা চিন্তা করতে পারি, বাট আসলে তো আইবিএসটা হয় কোনো স্ট্রাকচারাল অ্যাবনর্মালিটি ছাড়া, এমন না যে কোনো প্যাথোলজিক্যাল কারণ ওখানে আছে। তো সেই হিসাবে এবং খুব কম রুগী, ওভারঅল পপুলেশনের মধ্যে যদি 100 জন এটাতে ভুগতে থাকে, সেই ক্ষেত্রে দেখা যায় মাত্র 10 জন এটার জন্য ডাক্তারের কনসালটেশন নেয়। আমরা যদি ওভাবে দেখি যে জিপি কনসালটেশন নেয় জেনারেল প্র্যাকটিশনারের। এবং তারপরেও যেহেতু এই অসুখটা আমরা যদি অত খারাপ নাও মনে করি, কিন্তু ভালো করাটাও মুশকিল, যে পুরোপুরি ভালো হয়ে যাওয়া। ফলে আমরা যখন রেফারেলটা আমরা আবার কনসিডার করি, যে গ্যাস্ট্রোএন্টারোলজিস্টের কাছে রেফারেল কয়জনকে করা হচ্ছে, তো দেখা যায় মোস্ট কমন কজ যেটার জন্য আসলে গ্যাস্ট্রোইন্টেস্টাইনাল স্পেশালিস্টদের কাছে বা গ্যাস্ট্রোএন্টারোলজিস্টদের কাছে রেফার করা হচ্ছে, মোস্ট কমন কজ হলো আইবিএস পরবর্তী ডায়াগনোসিসে যেটা পাওয়া যায়। এটার আরেকটা সমস্যা হচ্ছে যে খুব কমন কজ, যে ওয়ার্ক প্লেস অ্যাবসেন্টিজম, যে আমরা ওয়ার্ক প্লেসে রুগী যাচ্ছে না, যা এবং কোয়ালিটি অফ লাইফও আসলে ইম্পেয়ার্ড করে মানুষের প্রফেশনাল লাইফ, সোশ্যাল লাইফ, এটা আসলে খুব বেশি ইম্পেয়ার্ড হতে পারে। অনেকের দেখা যায় ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড হিস্ট্রিতে একটা ফিজিক্যাল বা সেক্সুয়াল অ্যাবিউজ থাকতে পারে। কো এক্সিস্টিং কন্ডিশনসগুলি কি? তাহলে আমরা যদি দেখি যে আমাদের আইবিএসের জন্য, আর এটা কি হচ্ছে যে মোস্ট কমন একটা কন্ডিশন, সিমটমসগুলি আমরা আবার ডিটেলস আলাপ করব। তারপরেও যদি একটু দেখি কি হয়, অ্যাবডোমিনাল ফুলনেস, ডিস্টেনশন, অল্টারনেশন অফ বায়াল হ্যাবিট, সামটাইমস কনস্টিপেশন হচ্ছে, সামটাইমস ডায়রিয়া হচ্ছে, এগুলি। এবং তার সাথে যদি আমরা আরেকটু দেখি যে কী হবে, যে সিমটমস রিলিভড বাই ডিফিকেশন, তার সাথে কী হয় যে কখনো কনস্টিপেশন প্রিডমিনেন্ট হচ্ছে, কখনো ডায়রিয়া প্রিডমিনেন্ট হচ্ছে। সো দেয়ার আর মেনি থিংস, নন স্পেসিফিক সিমটমস হচ্ছে এখন। এবং যদি আমরা ইনভেস্টিগেট করি, মোস্ট অফ দ্য টাইম না, ইফ দিস ইজ আইবিএস, দে আর সাপোজ নট টু বি এনি স্ট্রাকচারাল অ্যাবনর্মালিটি, শুড নট বি ইরিটেবল বাওয়েল সিনড্রোম। সো এটার সাথে দেখা যায় অনেক সময়ই দেয়ার আর সাম কন্ডিশন হুইচ কোএক্সিস্ট উইথ দ্য আইবিএস, and as for IBS, as IBS has no structural abnormalities, the symptoms or the disease which are associated with IBS usually functional or non-structural, we may call it like that. Those symptoms are null ulcer dyspepsia, chronic fatigue syndrome, dysmenorrhea, fibromyalgia, anxiety, depression, somatization, neurosis, panic attack. So, if we consider these symptoms, these are also functional. That means no structural abnormality can be found. On the other hand, there are some psychological conditions, anxiety, depressions. These are not actually, these are exactly disease conditions. So, what are the pathophysiology? About pathophysiology, there are few things: behavioral and psychological factor, psychological, physiological factors, and luminal factors. If we consider, there are we can divide the pathophysiology in three broad spectrum, like behavioral and psychological factors, physiological factors, and luminal factors. If we consider the behavioral and psychological factors, the patients who usually visit the GPs and does not need any referral to the gastroenterologist usually does not have any psychological problems. On the other hand, those patients who need referral to the gastroenterologist, so we might consider severe IBS as the referral is needed. About 50% of patients have a psychiatric condition or illness. Altered visceral perception and gastrointestinal motility. পেশেন্টের পারসেপশনটাই দেখা যায় অল্টার্ড হয়ে যায়. Abnormal illness behavior, frequent consultation for minor symptoms, reduced coping ability. So, along with the disease IBS, there are some behavioral symptoms and psychological factors also. What are these things? Usually, those patients who responses to treatment from the GP does not have any psychological problem, but those who need a referral to the gastroenterologist, among them 50% have some psychological problems. And if we say the behavioral problem, what are the behavioral problem? The patient is too much concerned about the symptoms, regardless of the counseling. Patient is too much concerned about the symptoms. Altered perception of the mobility, altered visceral perception and gastrointestinal mobility. We frequently encountered symptoms from the patients of IBS who said feeling of incomplete evacuation. This is a very common symptoms of IBS, feeling of incomplete evacuation. So this is a perception of the patient. Most of the time, actually, this does not happen. Abnormal illness behavior, say the patient is having some problems and the behavioral response to the problem is sometimes not helpful, and even in some instances that is actually harmful to the patient. And there are other things like not everybody is equal. So there are people who are reluctant to visit a physician, maybe with very serious condition, and there are people who frequently visits physician with minor symptoms. And there are other sectors like medically unexplained syndrome. If we consider the GP visits, general practitioners visits, around 30% patients have medically unexplained syndrome. Medically unexplained syndrome is excluding the psychological conditions, like depression is not a medically unexplained syndrome. Anxiety is not a medically unexplained syndrome. All the psychological disease are those are disease. Those have definite diagnosis criteria, symptoms, disease pattern, and treatment. So when we say medically unexplained syndrome, it's not psychological problem. At least we cannot categorize those patients in any psychiatric condition. So medically unexplained syndrome means we are not finding any pathology, we are structural abnormalities, any inflammatory condition or infectious condition, or hormonal or any other conditions. We are not finding any those conditions. That is one thing. And we are not finding any specific psychological condition also, like whatever I say. Patient having schizophrenia, this is not a medically unexplained syndrome. Patient having depression, this is not a medically unexplained syndrome. So, if we can categorize the patient to a definite entity, whatever is the disease, it might be diabetes mellitus, it might be hypothyroidism, it might be chronic hepatic encephalopathy. Chronic hepatic encephalopathy is a chronic condition and having behavioral problems. But if we cannot categorize the patients in any disease spectrum, including medical or psychiatric, then we have to define the patient that the patient having medically unexplained syndrome. So this is a kind of behavioral abnormality maybe, and an abnormal illness behavior, frequent visits to the physician with minor symptoms. These things are sometimes associated with IBS, or IBS might be as an isolated disease entity. So what are the physiological factors? Physiological factors in mode 5-hydroxytryptophan might play a role, 5-HT. In case of diarrhea, predominant irritable bowel syndrome, 5-HT concentration of 5-HT concentration is increased, whereas in constipation, predominant 5-HT concentration is decreased. May present a state of low-grade gut inflammation, which is not diagnosed. Some patients respond positively to mast cell stabilizer. We know that mast cell is a pro-inflammatory cell, so there might be some low-level allergy or inflammation in the gut. Immune activation may be associated with altered CNS procession of visceral pain signals. This is a difficult condition. This is more common in women and in DIBS, may be triggered by a prior episode of gastroenteritis. So there might be a episode of gastroenteritis, and later on the patient might develop irritable bowel syndrome. So what are the luminal factors? Luminal factors are alteration of the intestinal bacterial microbiota. The most common cause of alteration of intestinal flora is having antibiotics. Whenever we take antibiotics for whatever is the reason, we altered the intestinal flora, intestinal microbial environment. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So having less bacteria is a problem. Having more bacteria in the intestinal lumen is also a problem. This kind of condition usually responds to probiotics or rifaximin. Some patients have chemical food intolerance. This is not allergy, but food intolerance, kind of food intolerance, like fermentable oligo, dye, and monosaccharides and polyps. There is a short name for this, FODMAPs, fermentable oligo, dye, monosaccharides, and polyps. These things are not absorbed from the gut, produces some intolerance to the gut. So what are the clinical features? Clinical features, we have actually discussed these clinical features. Recurrent abdominal discomfort, colicky, cramping, lower abdominal pain relieved by defecation. Abdominal bloating, variable bowel habit, alternate diarrhea, constipation, passage of mucus, no rectal bleeding, no weight loss, no constitutional symptoms. Physical examination is generally unremarkable, exception of variable tenderness. So what have I said about the clinical symptoms? Clinical symptoms, first of all, the clinical symptoms is abdominal. What kind of symptoms is there? There might be variable abdominal pain, maybe discomfort, maybe colic abdominal pain, maybe a pain occurred in the lower abdomen, and how the pain is relieved by defecation. And abdominal fullness, feeling of incomplete evacuation, variable bowel habit. Bowel habit is not regular. It's sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day. Sometimes constipation for 1 to 2 days, and sometimes there is morning symptoms. Patient having a bowel movement in the morning for 2 to 3 times. Alternate diarrhea and constipation. Patient having few days of diarrhea, few days of constipation, like that. Passage of mucus. in the stool. And physical examination is frequently unremarkable with variable tenderness in the abdomen. What do we mean by variable tenderness? There is no definite pattern of tenderness. But sometimes the patient complain about that he or she is feeling tender in the upper abdomen, sometimes lower abdomen, sometimes right, so variable abdominal tenderness. What is most important in these clinical features is that most important, no, that there are some no's. What do we mean by no? মানে there are some negatives. কিছু কিছু না আছে এখানে যে কিছু জিনিস আইবিএস এ কখনো ঘটবে না। তো এই ক্লিনিক্যাল ফিচার্স যখন আমরা আইবিএস এর একটা পেশেন্টকে নিব, উই হ্যাভ টু ফোকাস অন দিস নেগেটিভ পয়েন্টস। হোয়াট আর দিস নেগেটিভ পয়েন্টস? No rectal bleedings, no weight loss, no constitutional symptoms. So we have to have a very clear idea about this thing. The 3 no's: no bleeding, no weight loss, no constitutional symptoms. Actually, these 3 symptoms is very much reflective of another gastrointestinal condition: rectal bleeding, weight loss, constitutional syndrome. If these 3 things are present, then we have to consider other conditions, frequently malabsorption syndrome, or maybe other pathological conditions. So whenever we are taking a patient giving a history like IBS, or we are taking a history for IBS or abdominal syndrome, these 3 questions are very important. Is there any bleeding? Is there any weight loss? Is there any constitutional symptoms? So if in case of IBS, these 3 symptoms should be absent. So there are a criteria which is known as ROM4 criteria for IBS. ROM4 criteria, if we are in doubt and we are searching for cause for abdominal symptoms and nothing is found, then we can apply this ROM4 criteria to a patient, and if this criteria is met, there is a probability that the patient is suffering from irritable bowel syndrome. So what is this criteria? Look at this: recurrent abdominal pain on average at least 1 day per week in last 3 months, associated with 2 or more of the following criteria. So there is an entry criteria. The first one is entry criteria, the later one is supporting criteria. What is entry criteria? Entry criteria, we have already discussed these things. What are these? Abdominal pain at least once a week for last 3 months, associated with 2 or more of the following criteria. So what are the entry criteria? Abdominal pain at least once in a week, at least for last 3 months. So abdominal pain or discomfort, this is the entry criteria. What are the other criteria? At least once a week, at least for 3 months. Then what are the supporting criteria? Like related to defecation. So patient is relieved by defecation, associated with the change in stool frequency. Stool become either frequency become more or less, associated with a change in stool form. Stool might be it might be hard or loose stool. So abdominal pain is the entry criteria once in a week for last 3 months. This is the entry criteria. Then stool appearance change হতে পারে, স্টুলের ফ্রিকোয়েন্সি চেঞ্জ হতে পারে, এবং অবশ্যই রিলেটেড টু ডিফিকেশন থাকবে। দিস ইজ দ্য রং ক্রাইটেরিয়া। Then what are the features that support the diagnosis of IBS? Symptoms more than 6 months. Frequent consultation for gastrointestinal problems. Previous medically unexplained syndromes. Stress Osten syndromes. Any kind of stress Osten syndromes. So for the we have applied the ROM criteria, and if we find those other things, the symptoms for more than 6 months, patient repeatedly visit the physician for minor symptoms, repeatedly visited for medically unexplained syndrome, and if history there is history that stress worsen the symptoms. So but there are some alarm features of IBS. Many times it is found that the patient having a severe structural conditions, but somehow it has been misdiagnosed as IBS. So there are some alarm features. If those alarm features are present, we have to take this very seriously. Age more than 50 years, male gender, weight loss, nocturnal syndromes, family history of colon cancer, anemia, rectal bleeding. So, if you see, there are some nodes in the where we discuss the diagnosis of IBS. We have said some important negative points, and alarm features are actually those negative points like age more than 50 years, male gender, weight loss, nocturnal symptoms, family history of colon cancer, anemia, rectal bleeding. If these symptoms are present, we actually diagnosis of IBS should not be made until we have excluded all the structural abnormalities or pathological condition. So, what is the investigations? Actually, diagnosis is clinical, and much investigations is not helpful. Full blood count, fecal calprotectin, maybe a sigmoidoscopy, if necessary colonoscopy. If there is diarrhea predominant, we might do some investigations to exclude malabsorption. So, what are the dietary management of IBS? First of all, there has to be a dietary habit. Eat regularly, avoid missing meal, take time to eat, uh, ensure adequate hydration and avoid carbonated and caffeinated drink, reduce alcohol intake, reduce intake of resistant starch or insoluble fibers, avoid foods with artificial sweeteners, consider a wheat-free diet, consider a lactose inclusion diet, consider a diet low in with fat mods. So we should take what are the advice we should give to the patient? It's like avoid take regular meal, avoid missing meal, take time to eat, ensure adequate hydration, and try to avoid alcohol, try to avoid carbonated beverages, try to avoid caffeinated beverages, try to avoid artificial sweeteners, try if possible try to have a wheat free diet, consider a wheat free diet, consider a lactose exclusion diet. And what are the other management? First of all, a positive diagnosis and reassurance of the patient. This is very much important. An individual who fail to respond to reassurance, treatment of the predominant symptoms, like if the patient is having predominant diarrhea, we have to treat the diarrhea. If the patient is having constipation, we have to treat the constipation. So, how can we do this? If diarrhea is predominant, avoid legumes and excessive dietary fibers. Consider trial of a low FODMAP or gluten-free diet. So, excessive dietary fiber should be excluded in case of diarrhea predominant IBS. If dietary symptoms, after the dietary symptoms, if there is persistence of symptoms, antidiarrheal medication may be loperamide, codeine phosphate, cholestyramine. If still symptoms persist, then we can add amitriptyline or imipramine or rifaximin. If there is constipation predominant, then we should give high roughage diet, isabgula, lactulose, etc. And if still symptoms persist, then হচ্ছে a more stronger laxatives we have to be given. If the pain and blotting is the main symptoms, then we should exclude wheat, we should exclude dairy products, we should try a gluten-free diet. Then we might add spasmolytic drugs like mefavirin, peppermint oil, hyacinth bromide, probiotic, rifaximin, amitriptyline. These are the drugs. And for all those symptoms, if doing all the stuff, treatment for diarrhea, treatment for constipation, pain and blotting, there are 3 arms of treatment actually. If doing all the dietary modification with all the behavioral modification and drug treatment, if symptoms still persist, we should go for duloxetine and relaxation therapy, biofeedback therapy, and hypnotherapy. Those are in extreme cases. So, what are the importance of IBS? IBS, what should be the take-home message? Take-home message this is a very common gastrointestinal condition. It's should be considered as a condition. This is maybe a disease, but it's as there is no structural or pathological abnormalities. So this is a very common gastrointestinal condition. Frequent cause of physician's visit. This is having a social and social life and professional life might be hampered due to this. But if we investigate, there are some behavioral patterns of the patient, not necessarily that all patients will have all those conditions. There are some important diagnostics criteria like symptoms once a week for 3 months associated with defecation, change in bile appearance and frequency. And there are some important no's. What are the negative points? No bleeding, no weight loss, no constitutional symptoms. And there are some also alarm features. What are this rectal bleeding, weight loss, there is constitutional symptoms. These are our again the alarm features. And if the patient is having anemia, these are the alarm features. So, if a patient came to us and for irritable bowel syndrome, reassurance of the patient is very much important. Patient education is very much important. How the diet should be taken, how much time should be taken, what kind of drug should be inhibited, prohibited. Like if the patient having diarrhea, we should omit some kind of food. If the patient is constipated, we should have to add some kind of foods. So treatment is variable. It's frankly we have to treat the symptoms of the patient according to the patient's presentation. And then if this approach fails, then perhaps we have to add some drugs as required basis. And that is all. And this condition is one of the most frequent cause of gastrointestinal referral. So that is all for today. Thank you very much.